Welcome back. So for our second session or for our last session in discussing the philosophical foundation, let us now tackle the other educational philosophies that entails perennialism, essentialism, progressivism, and reconstructionism. So as you can remember, we have discussed the four major philosophical viewpoints, which are the idealism, realism, pragmatism, and existentialism. Today, we will tackle the last four educational philosophies. So, from here, let us now discuss the first educational philosophy for our discussion today, which is the perennialism. So, perennialism is the most conservative educational philosophy and is rooted in realism. It advocates the permanency of knowledge that has stood the test of time and values that have moral and spiritual basis. So this philosophy is one of the most conservative educational philosophy that focuses on the classical and traditional way of teaching. Furthermore, the underlying ideas in this philosophy are that education is constant, absolute, and universal. Therefore, the curriculum of the perennialist is subject-centered. It draws heavily on defined disciplines or logically organized bodies of content. Specifically, it highlights the teaching, learning of language, literature, sciences, and arts. So, perennialism in education consider the teacher as an authority in a specific discipline, and teaching is considered an art of transferring information, knowledge, and continuous discussion. So in here, students are deemed as immature and their interests are given least attention. Furthermore, in this philosophy, the education advocated by perennialists appeals to a small group of educators who stress intellectual meritocracy. Their emphasis is on testing students, enforcing tougher academic standards and programs, and identifying gifted and talented students. So the focus of perennialism is on unchanging ideas and universal truths. Aside from that, the focus is also to provide a genuine equality of education opportunities for students. Though it is centered to teachers, it primarily aims to develop the intellectual capabilities of the students. So generally, perennialism is based on the philosophy of realism. It is traditional and conservative. It follows the beliefs of Aristotle. Furthermore, Robert Maynard Hutchins, the president of the University of Chicago, according to him, in this educational philosophy, human nature is rational and constant and can be predicted to do things in certain ways. Therefore, education should be based on changing absolute and universal truths, and that is perennialism, right? Moreover, according to perennialists, humanities are works that provide insights into the good, the true, and the beautiful. Furthermore, the great books are works considered to be classic, should be a part of everyone's general, liberal, and humanistic education. Lastly, precision is important. The universe is understood through quantitative terms. The three primary approaches to learning is the didactic teaching of concepts, coaching of skills, seminars using the Socratic method. Next, we have the progressivism. So, in here, progressivism is a development over pragmatic philosophy and is in contrast to perennialist thinking in education. So, it was considered a contemporary reformist movement in educational, social, and political affairs at the turn of the 20th century. So, Horace Mann and Henry Bernard of the 19th century contributed significantly to progressivism through their writings. So, if perennialism highlights the importance of classical and traditional way of teaching, progressivism is the opposite. So, the rise of this philosophy on the 20th century brought a new perspective in educational, social, and political affairs. So some of the notable personalities that greatly contributed to this philosophy was Horace Mann and Henry Bernard. So, furthermore, Dewey viewed school as a miniature democratic society in which students could learn and practice the skill and tools necessary for democratic living. So according to progressivism, the skill and tools of learning include problem-solving methods and scientific inquiry. In addition, learning experiences should include cooperative behavior and self-discipline, both of which are important for democratic living, and that is according to Ornstein and Hankins, 1988. So, furthermore, according to Dewey, as what I have said a while ago, a school can be viewed as a miniature democratic society in which students can learn effectively for democratic living. So, as what have been stated by Ornstein and Hankins, some of the skills and tools for learning include the problem-solving methods and scientific inquiry. Moreover, students' learning experiences should include cooperative behavior and self-discipline. Moreover, the curriculum in this philosophy was interdisciplinary in nature, and the teacher was seen as a guide for students in their problem solving and scientific projects. So in here, the teacher and students planned activities together, but the teacher was to help students locate, analyze, interpret, and evaluate data to formulate their own conclusion. So in this manner, curriculum caters the interest and needs of the students. So curriculum embrace change. Therefore, teachers teach the students how to cope up with changes, and they served as a facilitator. The teacher can make use of various techniques such as problem-solving activities, simulation, experiments, group activities, individual instruction, open classroom, etc. So, all in all, progressivism. So, I have here the different views on progressivism. So, followers look to Jacques Rousseau, the author of Emily, who believed in natural education without coercion. We also have Pestalozzi, Rousseau's follower, who believed that education should involve the entire child. That involves the child's body, emotions, and intellect. We also have William Herd Kilpatrick, an advanced cooperative. He advocates the advanced cooperative learning, intrinsic rewards, liberal classroom discipline, and primarily the project method. So, what is Kilpatrick's project method? So, according to Kilpatrick's projects, it entails the creative projects. It is where you allow the students, for example, to write a poem. So, in the enjoyment project, it is where the students experiences to watch a film. A film according to their interest. We also have the problem project, in which a person is discussing, for example, complex social problem. For example, as we experience today, as currently experiencing today, the COVID-19 pandemic. And lastly, the specific learning project, in which it emphasizes the learning of skills. Therefore, in this philosophy, progressive educators are more concerned with child's needs and interests than with the academic subject matter. However, although the progressive movement in education encompassed many different theories and practices, it was united in its opposition to the following traditional attributes and practices, and that is according to Ornstein and Hankins. So, for you to fully understand this educational philosophy, the following traditional attributes and practices were opposed by this philosophy. So, They opposed on the authoritarian feature, excessive dependence on textbook methods, memorization of factual data, and learning by excessive drilling. Moreover, the static aims and materials that reject the notion of a changing world. And lastly, a curriculum that attempts to isolate education from individual experiences and social reality. Now, we will move to the second to the last educational philosophy, which is essentialism. So, in this philosophy, learning should consist in mastering the subject matter that reflects currently available knowledge in various disciplines. In here, the teacher is considered a master of a particular subject and is to be respected as an authority because of the knowledge and high standards he or she holds. So one of the conservative philosophy, so essentialism is one of the conservative philosophy that focuses on the mastery of the subject matter. So it promotes a teacher-centered way of teaching. Furthermore, being a conservative philosophy, essentialism with its roots in both idealism and realism. It is evolved mainly as a critic of progressive thought in education. Yet, the proponents of essentialism do not totally reject progressive methods, as they do believe that education should prepare the learner to adjust with the changing society. So, essentialism rooted from idealism and realism. So it developed in the critique of progressivism educational philosophy. Hence, the main proponents of essentialism do not totally reject the progressive views. They also believe that education, in other words, the curriculum, must prepare the learner for the constant changes happening in the society. The institution, be it school or in college, gets sidetracked when, at the expense of cognitive needs, it attempts to pay greater attention to the social and psychological problems of students. So, in this educational philosophy, if the institution gets distracted, it will lead them to have a greater attention to the social and psychological problems of the learners. Moreover, the most notable achievements of the essentialists have been widespread implementation of the competency-based program, the establishment of the grade-level achievement standards, and the movement to re-emphasize academic subjects in schools and colleges. So aside from the critics coming from the other specialists, the notable achievements of this philosophy entails the competency-based program, the creation of grade-level achievement standards, and the re-emphasizing academic subjects in schools and colleges. The core subjects in here, the core subjects include the English, we have mathematics, history, foreign language, and science. So the main aim of this philosophy is to transmit the basic knowledge, values, and skills. So the essentialist believed, so in here, in this educational philosophy, the essentialists believed the longer the academic year, the better the model student can be. So all in all, essentialism is very traditional and conservative in the which is in direct opposition to progressive education. Essentialism teach elementary children to read, write, and compute mathematically, while teach the secondary students to have higher order thinking skills. So essentialism focuses on the reserve phase as their principle to in going back to the basics. Lastly, we have the last educational philosophy. We have the Reconstructionism. So a group of thinkers felt that progressivism put too much emphasis on child-centered education that mainly serve the individual child and middle class with its play theories and private schools. What needed were more emphasis on society-centered education that took into consideration the needs of society and not the individual and all classes and not only the middle class. So as we discuss the other educational philosophies, other specialists asserted that some of the philosophies, specifically the progressivism, put too much concern or attention on child-centered education. So according to the Reconstructionalist, what is needed on education is a society-centered education instead of a child-centered education. So a society-centered curriculum highlights the needs of the society and all societal classes. So, Reconstructionism views education as a means to reconstruct the society. So, the Reconstructionists believe that as the school college is attended by virtually all the youth, it must be used as a means to shape the attitudes and values of each generation. So, as a result, when the youth become adults, they will share 13 common values, and thus the society will have reshaped itself. So as what have been stated in my presentation, Reconstructionism views education as a means to reconstruct the society. So this philosophy believed that if a school or a college will be attended by the youth, this philosophy that can be used in curriculum should shape the attitudes and values of the students, including also the future generation. So this will help the youth or the learners to share certain values that can assist to reshape the society. Therefore, the Reconstructionist curriculum consists of subjects which promote new social, economic, and political education. The subject matter is to be used as a vehicle for studying social problems which must serve as the focus of the curriculum. Therefore, a Reconstructionist curriculum promotes subjects or courses that tackle social, economic, and political affairs. Hence, these areas will be the focus of the curriculum. So, this will guide the students to understand social problems. So, according to Ornstein and Hankins, views of some recent reconstructionists have been put forth by Ornstein and Hankins, as what I have said, who have given a reconstructionist program of education which emphasized the following. So Ornstein and Hankins provided a reconstructionist program of education that emphasizes the following. First, critical examination the cultural heritage of a society as well as the entire civilization. Next, the scrutiny of controversial issues, commitment to bring about social and constructive changes. Next, we have the cultivation of a planning in advance attitude that considers the realities of the world we live in. And lastly, the enhancement of culture renewal and internationalism. So as you observed, the curriculum based on Reconstructionism highlights sociology, psychology, and philosophy. So it encourages the development of the learner's self-realization. Moreover, the Reconstructionists, including such recent proponents as Mario Fantini, Yarol Chain, and Alvin Toffel. So some of the recent proponents of Reconstructionism involves Mario Fantini, Yarol Chain, and Alvin Toffel. So in general, we can infer that Reconstructionism educational philosophy seeks a curriculum that emphasizes cultural pluralism, internationalism, and futurism. So students should be taught to appreciate life in a world of many nations, a global village with many alternatives for the future as they advocate this educational philosophy. So as we discussed, the four major philosophical viewpoints in our previous discussion, which covers the idealism, realism, pragmatism, and existentialism, we are also done with the other educational philosophies that entails the perennialism, essentialism, progressivism, and reconstructionism. So, as a summary, philosophy gives meaning to our decisions and actions. Those involved with curriculum development should be familiar with the contemporary dominant philosophy. So, in the absence of a clear-cut philosophy, our curriculum plans and teaching procedures will tend to be inconsistent and confused. So, all in all, based from our discussions, philosophy plays a vital role in the decision making and actions in education. So curricularists and other people involved in the academe should be familiar and knowledgeable of the contemporary dominant philosophy. So if they fail to do so, the curriculum plans, its implementation, and teaching procedures will be greatly affected. Furthermore, as a recap, we have discussed the major philosophical viewpoints that involves the idealism, realism, pragmatism, and existentialism. We also have the influenced education philosophies along the same continuum, which involves the perennialism, essentialism, progressivism, and reconstructionism. So as we go back to our discussion about this topic, we first tackle the four major philosophical viewpoints, followed by the general philosophies influenced by other philosophies. So, what we as curriculum specialists need to do is to adopt an eclectic approach, the middle road where there is no emphasis on extremes of subject matter or socio-psychological development, excellence, or equality. So we must understand the curricularists have to continuously reflect on their curricular decisions, and this should be based on the changing needs of the students and society. So therefore, curriculum specialists are suggested to adopt a wide-ranging approach where there is no extreme concerns or attentions of subject matter. So there are only few schools who adopt a single philosophy. In reality, most schools nowadays combine different philosophies, so we must understand that curriculum specialists should reflect their curriculum decisions and actions based on the changing needs of both students and society. So, generally, it should be politically and economically applicable and mirrors the needs especially of the students and the society. And that's end of our discussion of about the third learning module of the course, the teaching in the school curriculum, which covers the topic of all philosophical foundation. So I hope you learned something from me. Thank you for listening.